You're listening to the Hammond Cast Show on KYOU Radio in San Francisco, California. This is Jon Hammond at the microphone. I'm an organ player, accordion player, member of the Musicians Union Local 6 in San Francisco, and Local 802 here in New York, where I'm broadcasting from today.
But I was definitely an agitator.
Yeah, right.
Hammond
Report.
Report.
We were all involved in that back then. I
March 11th, 2021. This is a great day in the USA.
Over by Leo's Music, you know, and
there you go.
Revisiting
that's exactly where it was.
with the 10th
interview with Barry Melton.
The induction center was right there. I remember going
Right
to
here.
get drafted. It wasn't successful, obviously, but
Sadly, Lou
for
Ottens,
me,
the
Vietnam
inventor of the
War,
audio cassette, died.
protest movement
They just
was
reported.
something that came out of the civil rights movement. I was active in the civil rights
Let's
movement.
go
in
and
the
listen to
early 60s
Barry
when I was
talk.
a teenager. Sat in to protest discrimination at lunch counters in the South and things like that. I mean, we were motivated. We cared.
Thanks, folks, for joining me for some more
idealistic. I wish kids
music
today
and
were
stories.
that idealistic, because there's a lot to be done.
John
in
Hammond
this
here with
world,
Barry
and
Melton.
If somebody doesn't
And I got
believe
some
they can
music
do
for
it,
you in a little bit, too.
I don't see how it's going to get done.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, the real activism epicenter was Berkeley at the time. Mario Savio and everybody that were jumping up on top of cars, and the battle cry was question authority, and out of it inspired a lot of great music, no question about that.
Oh, well, music is born of turmoil, because music is changes, and there's nothing like changes to bring on changes. I'm sounding ridiculous.
I heard that. Well, so anyway, to sort of bring you back to the spirit of the 60s, folks, a little bit, I want to ask you, of course, one of my biggest inspirations in the beginning of my own musical careers, I was a volunteer for Barry Olivier at the Berkeley Folk Festival, and I got to jam with a lot of great musicians and attend all the concerts for free. And Barry, he put on so many fine programs, and I think that a lot of times that he's overlooked as one of the great concert promoters in musical history, and plus he gave a lot of groups their first shot. So he was not only a promoter and an impresario, but he was like the Ed Sullivan of Berkeley in a way, But how did you come to the attention of Barry Olivier, the two Barrys? When did you meet Barry Olivier the first time?
Well, we used to jam, as it were, in a place called the Jabberwock, where Barry Olivier was a regular performer, and I played and sung with Barry Olivier. The 60s, I think, particularly the folk music movement of the early 60s, were special. We were talking before you turned on the microphone about somehow we've forgotten to respect our older musicians, people, and older artists in general in this country. But in the 60s, something very special happened. The folk music movement emerged, and a lot of that was going and finding people who had made music in the 20s and 30s. Older blues musicians, people like Booker White and Mance Lipscomb, Mississippi John Hurt, Fred McDowell, the people who had Reverend Gary Davis, people who had recorded in the 20s and then gone into obscurity. People like Jesse Fuller, who worked in a shoeshine parlor in Oakland for much of his adult life, and then people went out during the folk music movement and they found these guys who were oftentimes in their 60s and 70s and brought them out and put them out at folk festivals, and they played wonderful music, and we thrived on our musical heritage, on the blues.
That was so much fun. The workshops, I remember he brought Janice Ian out, and that was the first time I met Joan Baez back then, and Richard and Mimi Farina was still together then before he passed away on the bike accident, and of course, Phil Oakes, you know, and John Fahey, you know, and Sonny Terry Brownie McGee.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
well, Sonny and Brownie were Bay Area fixtures during that period of time. I just recorded maybe a month ago a cut for a John Fahey tribute album with a guy named Phil Kellogg here in the Bay Area, Henry Kaiser on acoustic guitar, and the Canned Heat Rhythm section, Fido De La Parra and Larry Taylor on bass and
what a guess.
drum.
Yeah, Barry Melton, a real Bay Area treasure. Here he is here, / the fish. Yeah. All right. We're going to get into a mellow tune here. It's one of my favorites off my new album that I'm going to be finishing up this weekend, in fact, featuring the great playing Lutz Buechner on saxophone.
Very sadly, 5 years ago today, we lost Lutz at only 47 years old.
And only love.
Enjoy his beautiful playing here.
With Heinz Lichius on drums and myself on the Hammond XK3 organ.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
NDR Radio Studio 1, Hamburg, Germany. You're listening to the Hammond Cast Show on KYOU. And this one's for you, folks. Drive easy out there.